Yeah, so that was when I was first doing the software demonstrations. I
Yeah.
used to really stress out about them, probably and get a fair bit of anxiety. And I even had my daughter saying, "Oh, I get a bit," and I said, I get anxious a lot, like
Yeah.
especially when you're doing a big demo. Sometimes you'll see the attendees as well, which can be a bad thing. Yeah, you might see like an ex-boss or something who's on it, and you're like, "Oh no!" Like. So, yeah, I always found they're good pressure tests, the demos. So you're sort of doing it live. People asking you to answer the question, and you're like, "Oh, I haven't like done that question for like 2 years," and you've got to sort of think on your feet and get it done. One of the good things, like you say, how do you make it engaging and relevant? The best thing is always to look at who's attending or who it's for. Always look at the client.
Mm.
What I always used to try or still try and do is actually get their data sets. So if it's an architect that does high rise buildings, don't try and show them how to measure up a field. It's just not relevant to them, and you can lose the room quite quickly. Where if you're actually bringing up their drawings or something that they do, that's where they start getting interested, and that's where you'll know you're engaging with them as well, because they'll start asking questions. Because oh yeah, I thought about how do you do this? So really making sure you've got the right data set. Sometimes, like I said, always reach out to the client themselves. Again, we're pretty protective about clients and that as well. So it's actually building up your own library of content that you've got
Mm.
that's relevant that you can flip to.
Hi Ben, how are you today?
Very good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Welcome to the Digital Construction Podcast. So today in this episode, we sit down with Ben Byrnes to discuss his career transition from a BIM technician to a technical sales consultant. We will explore how his BIM expertise helps engineering and construction companies adopt the right software, how he tailors solutions for clients, deliver technical demonstration, and provide consulting across the AEC industry. At the moment, he works for Arcans, but previously Ben worked for Arup, Northrop, SMEC. So today, I'm very excited to speak with Ben because in this episode, we will explore how can somebody transition from a role in BIM technician to a technical sales support, which is one of the things that have not been explored a lot. So, welcome, Ben. So, just to start, I would like you to give us a quick introduction about your career and the project you worked on. Can you share this with us, please?
Yeah. So basically, straight out of school, I went into a structural drafting apprenticeship. That was actually with Sinclair Knight Mertz, who are now they're part of the Jacobs Group. A lot of companies have joined together. So I sort of did my apprenticeship there. From there, I went contracting. So I worked on a lot of different projects across a range of companies, generally spending probably about 2.5, 3 years at each company. Working generally on projects. Did a fair bit on the Olympic Stadium. So that was in the late 90s. And then also went on at Arup. I worked on some big projects there. So Metro Martin Place, all sort of Sydney-based sort of projects. So I've generally been in the sort of New South Wales area. So yeah, a lot of the big projects around there.
Yeah, classic. I want to say classic career of a BIM technician working on so many different projects. But what made you transition from BIM technician to technical sales support?
So I love drafting, and it was probably my first true love, like drafting and modelling, things like that. But it probably, you reach a certain age and it's just like, I can't keep doing this, like the tight deadlines, unpaid overtime and working a lot of extra time. And it's just like, yeah, it became a bit grueling. That's why I sort of started to just open my eyes up and have a look at what else was out there. And the opportunity came up for this one, and I thought with a fair bit of nerves, I sort of just thought, oh, I'll have a crack and take the opportunity, because you're sort of thinking like that, being in front of people, it's a very different role than a lot of us who are a bit more technical and consider ourselves more introverts. And it was pretty funny, and I don't want to go too far into what we're going to be talking about, but I think the first week I started at this company, I did a class like on advanced Revit in front of like sort of 10 to 12 people that had been using Revit for quite a while. And it was one of those things like I probably couldn't see myself doing that previously, being in front of people and talking for 2 days straight. But yeah, it was sort of, I got through that, and yeah, I've ended up enjoying that, and I probably wouldn't go back to drafting now.
Yeah, incredible. I think so many people are there working on their BIM projects, and some of them are, like the vast majority of them are probably happy where they are, but there are also people who are could be keen to explore what different options there are, and I know that sometimes the change could be scary. There is a learning curve. There are a few things you need to learn before you transition to a client-facing role. But do you think that your hands-on experience in BIM has helped you in your current role? Do you think that was useful?
Yes, definitely. That's probably the key, and I think we even have some people, and like everyone knows in companies, you get people that don't come from industry, and it's actually learning the industry that's the hard bit. You know what I mean? And I think coming from a lot of different companies, I saw the different way they do things, and even over my career, like I started on the board. I did a couple of years on the board, then I went to like AutoCAD DOS, and then eventually to like BIM modeling. And because I've sort of done that myself, I know the shortcuts, I know how to transition between them, and I know sort of, I've seen like a lot of companies do things different ways, and I like to think I've been able to cherry pick the best, that worked best in that instance, that worked best in this. And yeah, the hands-on experience, that's been the key to it, really. I think not to say that you couldn't do that without having the hands-on experience, but yeah, it's definitely a big, you know the technical jargon, you know some of the struggles that the clients have already.
Yeah, it's great because you've been on the other side, so you know all of the pain points, and you can help them truly because you know how they feel. But from your point of view, so now you've been sitting on both sides of the fence. What are the biggest challenges that engineering and construction companies face when they have to choose BIM software?
I think a lot of it is that they sort of one is the cost. The cost is almost reasonably prohibitive now that it's come up to subscription as well. So back in the day, you'd pay your $5,000 for your AutoCAD license, and you'd have that forever. But sure enough, it would degrade over time, so you'd sort of want to upgrade. But you know, for most BIM softwares, you're looking at thousands of dollars per year per user. So that's a big like monetary thing. The other thing that happens is a lot of people paint themselves into their corners. So if your company's been using Revit for years and Navisworks for clash detection, you sort of go, well, everything works. So you're sort of hesitant to go to the next one, and you're sort of losing a product that you trust and you know it does what you want it to do when you're going into something that may not tick all the boxes. And that's where you have to take that almost a bit of a leap of faith into it, and sort of just go in. And the interoperability between the different softwares as well has always been a bit of a pinch point. Not to name drop all the softwares and sort of shame some of the others, but as people know, sort of Autodesk and Tekla, they don't really talk to each other. They're competitor softwares, so they don't really want to help each other in that interoperability space. So that's one of the big important things.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And these companies have developed it independently, and they are competing. Of course, there is no, they certainly don't want to help each other. So
yes,
definitely. And from your point of view, how do you actually help clients select and implement the right tools for their workflows? And if you can share any practical examples.
Yeah. So it's probably right, like the right tools for their workflows. That's probably the key to it there. You've got to see what they're doing and what information they're getting from clients, or how they're doing that. And then from that, what are their actual outputs? What are their deliverables? What do they need to give to their clients? And you just try and basically fine tune that. If it's multiple softwares out there like Solibri, Revisto, etc., like you sort of just find some are better and some have their own better points, if I might say that, and so you're better off steering them towards one product over another. And that's where you sort of do that. As an example, I probably can't name drop many companies in that, but even like Bluebeam is a great software where a lot of people don't realise the extra stuff it can do. So you might have someone that's got basically a quantity, and like a lot of the quantity tools and that are out there are quite good, but if they're only doing small quantities in that, like Bluebeam can do that, and a lot of them already have that software. So it's more a matter of trying to teach them how to use that proper workflow to get their stuff out.
Yeah, and totally. Like you made a good example of Bluebeam. Bluebeam is one of those tools that I feel like people use maybe 1% of what Bluebeam can possibly do, and I feel that one of the hardest things about your job is about demonstrating the value of the software to the customers, that they are thinking about their life, thinking about their work, and think about their projects that they need to deliver. And of course, they don't want to spend their time to understand the value that there is inside a piece of software. Also, you mentioned that many of the people that work in the BIM space are a little bit of an introvert personality. So how do you present software demonstration? And what's your approach to make it relevant to people and at the same time demonstrating values?
Yeah, so that was when I was first doing the software demonstrations. I used to really stress out about them. Probably get a fair bit of anxiety, and I even had my daughter saying, "Oh, I get a bit," and I said, "I get anxious a lot." Yeah. Like especially when you're doing a big demo. Sometimes you'll see the attendees as well, which can be a bad thing. Yeah, you might see like an ex-boss or something who's on it, and you're like, "Oh no!" Like. So, I always found they're good pressure tests, the demos. So you're sort of doing it live, people asking you to answer the question, and you're like, "Oh, I haven't done that question for 2 years," and you've got to sort of think on your feet and get it done. One of the good things, like you say, how do you make it engaging and relevant? The best thing is always to look at who's attending or who it's for. Always look at the client. What I always used to try, or still try and do, is actually get their data sets. So if it's an architect that does high-rise buildings, don't try and show them how to measure up a field. It's just not relevant to them, and you can lose the room quite quickly. Where if you're actually bringing up their drawings or something that they do, that's where they start getting interested, and that's where you'll know you're engaging with them as well, because they'll start asking questions. Because I thought about how do you do this? So really making sure you've got the right data set. Sometimes, like I said, always reach out to the client themselves. Again, we're pretty protective about clients and that as well. So it's actually building up your own library of content that you've got that's relevant that they can flip to.
So it feels like it's about tailoring the technical demo to that specific one client you're speaking to.
That's exactly right. So tailor that technical demonstration to them and what they do. And the other thing is as well that don't run away from their pain points. They're really there to sort of see their pain points. They don't want to see something they're already doing that they know and that they're quick at already. They don't need to see how to do a dimension. They might need to see how to get that information to Excel or something like that. So don't run away from their pain points. Try and hit them head on. The other thing is sometimes a more general demo, like again, you look for the audience. So you might have, like we do webinars as well, and you'll have a great mix of people in it. So that way it's, like I said, it's hard to have a data set that's all things to all people. But what you might do is you might do sort of 10 minutes on a bit of an architectural work set, and then you'll flip it to like a structural one or a civil one. You'll just try and change it so that at least you're giving something to everyone. The other thing is you'll get a broad mix of skill level. You'll get people who have never come across the software before, or people that use it every day. So you've got to sort of show it basic enough. And again, you try to steer away from the point and click demos, like that's what we call it, like where you go, hit this button, go down, change this value. You're more showing them what it can do rather than the how to do it. And then that's when they will come back with the questions. We'll say, how did you do that? So yeah, very
valid point. It's about demonstrating value at the end of the day, more than So I think as soon as a client can see value in the product, then they will be a lot more motivated to learn how to use it and to bring some energy into this process. But there is always like difficult clients, right? Clients that are skeptical, that don't want to adopt new technologies. How do you handle that situation?
Yeah, that's pretty tough. You can get people, you can get people that use ArchiCAD. And then you try and, like, just as an example, and then they want to go to or the company wants to go to Revit, and you'll get people that are just in the corner. I want to stay on ArchiCAD, and I'm going to fly that flag until this ship goes down. So they're painted in the corner. They are very hard to win over. You will sometimes get them almost what I call stitching you up with a question that they know that their software can do, and they know that your software can't do it. So they will actually try and like sort of stitch you up into a corner that, well, if I can't do that, I'm not interested. I think one of the things is always to try and engage them. Some people you can't win over. They're just painted in their corner, and that's that. But you always try and just say, well, how, and this is some of the benefits it can give you, and how can you, like, you try and always engage them. And like I said, you don't try and run from it. You try and just tackle them and go into it, and try your best, really. Some people are hard to win over.
Yeah, you can't win them all. It's just that if somebody it's sitting in a corner with a already preconceived idea that they don't want to do it, just try to.
Generally, you come down to that efficiency. Like, if you can show them some efficiency, again, even if they're not like paying the bills or whatever, if they know that you can save them half an hour a day, generally you can start to win them over.
Yeah, definitely. And part of your job involves working with different teams, like sales team and other stakeholders, engineers, business leaders. And I think, like, it's probably interesting to make it, to explain to us what's the difference between your role and the actual sales role, and how do you collaborate with the sales team in your everyday activities?
So I work closely with sales. I do work closely with the clients as well. Again, you sort of find what tricks people are after, or what they want. So sales is, like, as we know, probably pretty money orientated. So they're always looking for efficiencies. So sort of on the client side, you sort of a lot of the BIM managers and that, they're more looking to reduce the rework and to really sort of trust and bring in standards and that, where the more C-level, they're not interested in so much the standards, but they just want to see that efficiency. So that's where you'll be showing them how to save time. Internally with sales teams, it's a bit different. It's a different world, one that I didn't really look at, and they'll be all, it's sort of the art of the deal and all that sort of stuff. And sales is a very interesting beast.
Yeah, and what do you think are the biggest challenges in your role when you try to tailor a solution to a specific client's needs?
Generally it depends. If the clients approached us, generally they're looking for a solution. So, and sometimes it can be a matter of managing how they want the solution to go. Like one thing we do is a lot of content and templates and stuff like that. Now, it is funny, a lot of clients just want to basically go, yep, here's X $1,000, do our template, and then like hold us on the hook as for, the template doesn't work, we want you to fix it and go forever. So you've got to really sort of almost get your scope of works is, and even in like when we were doing buildings and that, the scope of works is quite important, and trying to avoid that scope creep, and as well trying to always measure the expectations and always give them this is what you can expect to get out of it. And like I said, don't run away from the don't avoid what it can't do, just sort of say that this is like future work, or we're hoping to get that. Again, where some of the things we're beholden to Autodesk as one of the major resellers for Autodesk, where like people go, oh, it would be good if it could do this, and you're like, yeah, it's a limitation of the software. It can't do it, and that's where you might sort of start to steer them towards third-party solutions as well to solve that particular issue.
Yeah, definitely. And for those who are less familiar about the different people involved in your role and the different stakeholders, who are they and what's the role of these stakeholders? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the clients successfully adopt a product or a piece of software. So who are these stakeholders and what's their role?
Yeah, so the end user is probably one of the major stakeholders. You sort of want to make sure that they're getting what they need to do their tools, and probably me as an end user, that's someone who I'm always focused on. And then you have their bosses, managers, directors who are then looking, okay, we've made the decision, we're going from ArchiCAD to Revit or whatever, and they've made that decision. So you've got to show them that ROI, the return on investment. So you might have to show them, okay, here's a project you do, and in a lot of this as well, like sort of going away from the stakeholders a bit, they're actually doing it to solve an issue. Like, so they might be doing it to get that efficiency. A lot of companies expect we can change our software and straight away start to see that efficiency, where realistically that's not going to happen. It might be a 6-month journey to sort of actually meet what they were doing before, and then like start to get those gains out of it. Particularly construction, as you know, they're very slow adopters because they can't take the risk, because it's such a fast-paced industry. Even if you show them this is going to work better, by the time they go, okay, we invest in that software, then we train our staff to do it, we've sort of lost some downtime in that, which they sort of can't afford. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the big factors is about building relationships with clients. So you tell them that you describe a better future with a new piece of software and new technology, but at the end of the day, you still need to build a relationship with these clients. It's very important. So what, from your point of view, is the most important factor in building this strong relationship with the clients, and how do you build those relationships?
Yeah, I probably think the biggest thing with building those relationships is being contactable. That's and being responsive. I've had like CEOs of companies, etc., and even like big directors of being able to almost call my mobile. I had one where sort of a certain software wasn't working, and I took the call at sort of 5:30 in the pub, and there was all the band noise and the poker machine noise and all that in the background, and step outside and took the phone call. Now, I'm not giving everyone my mobile number, and I'm probably not going to answer every call, but the client basically even mentioned that as it was a real win point for them, that they were able to get someone on the phone to resolve their issue quickly. And I think like in any relationship, wives, girlfriends, anything, if you're responsive, that's half the battle, is being there. You know, if you're there, people notice you're there, etc. You might not have to do much, but if you're there and contactable, that's probably the big one.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. At the end of the day, it's all about people. We're all human beings. So there is another human being on the other side. And yeah, if they can reach out to you with their concerns, at least they know there is somebody on the other side. But sometimes things go wrong.
Yes.
And have you ever experienced a situation where some clients were unhappy and you have to recover a relationship?
Yes. Probably, well, it's always more often than you would like, but it's not very often, seldomly, but you do occasionally get clients that are unhappy, and usually it's that old thing, and especially with the sales, and like we're talking about the sales and that before, like sales will sell the dream, and then it's on us as like the technical guys to deliver that dream, and generally that dream has been oversold. And the sales guys told the clients everything they want. Yes, they've promised them everything, and then you've got to sort of bring them back and sort of start to manage that the expectations. So how can you recover it? I suppose a lot of it is we had one example. I won't name the company, but it was content. And we had to change all the content over from like Australia to New Zealand. Had different standards, different seismic requirements, etc. on a lot of the families that we did. And they were unhappy quite early because I think our company tried to not give it too many resources to sort of do it on the cheap a bit, and that didn't really work. So there was a bit of internal pushback from us and the guys to go, no, we need to throw more resources at it. And a lot of it just came back to even the old BIM workflows, just break it down into small pieces. What do you need to do to get it? And if you can sort of almost put that in an Excel or put it in some sort of thing where people can see the tasks that need to be done and you can show progress, that's a way to really recover it. If you can sort of say, yes, we're chipping away at it, putting more resources, and if you can start ticking the boxes, that's how you can recover it. Some clients you might not see again. That's just part of it. But you do always try your best to make them happy. Yep.
I think this last point you made is it's the simplest explanation. I try to make them happy, and of course, if they're reasonable and you've shown some progress, surely they can understand that. Again, we are all human beings. Part of your job is about you are a consultant as well, so you provide support and advice to companies, and that's also an interesting part of your job. So what are the common misconceptions that you see about BIM software that you hear from your clients?
Yeah, well, I suppose like digital twins is probably a big one. A lot of people sort of start to think that, that's going to solve our problems. We can basically sign off a digital twin, give that to the client, like the end user, and everything's going to be all shiny and it all works. That's probably one of the big ones. They're all thinking, they can put dates in, and then all of a sudden, I can see fire extinguisher on level 5 needs replacing in 3 months. That's probably the big misconception. Like, it can, or as we know, that can be done. It's possible to do it. The thing is, it's never going to be really written in the scope. And because of that, and because of all the different software and that, it is hard to mesh it all together. There is no one ring to rule them all, sort of thing. Like it's not, and that's where, like we're saying, the interoperability and bringing across the different products, and you sort of do hear it in BIM and the talk of that. Like it's really about improving it. At Arup, we used to have almost a digital maturity measure, which is a great way. So it's not saying that any project's going to be perfect, but we just want this project to be better than the last one, and we want to sort of keep getting those points up and sort of get to that perfect project, which, as we know, is always elusive. It's to get that real one.
Measuring the level of maturity was a pretty smart way to convey the message that it isn't black and white. It's really like a spectrum of levels of maturity, as the word says. So even if people can understand that it's not really black and white, that's already we're already a step forward. One of the things you do, like I understand, like companies, they need to think about workflows and potentially change the way they work sometimes. But what are the common workflow mistakes that you see company make, and how can they be avoided?
One thing, like as a bit of a structure, like people try and do too much. So I think, and people try and play outside of their strength. Probably a classic example is like this consulting engineer will actually start to put in, they'll start to model the end plates, start to model the connections, and really start to go almost to that fabrication level. And it's best left to the fabricators. And that it's almost like you can sort of take this across the board, and it's probably a real good example. It's just the fabricators themselves are going to take your model. 80% of the time, they're going to redraw and remodel their own model. They're not going to trust your model, especially when they're next on the line. If something doesn't fit or whatever, they're not going to really trust your model. Now that's improving. The more that everyone's getting into BIM and the accuracy and the power of Revit and that, they are using each other's models more so to basically save themselves work. But they're not going to use your base plates. and bolts. They are going to redo their own connections. And that's where it's almost a bit of a workflow mistake, because they're sort of, the consulting engineers putting a lot of effort into getting that model, LOD 450, LOD 400, getting every connection in there, but it's not needed. And that they're better off to almost, and obviously you do one connection, you've got to do them all. So you're really expanding the amount of work you have to do. And the fabricator, it's not going to save them much time. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is something we hear often, like delivering to the right level of LOD, which could be challenging sometimes, especially if you want to over-deliver, but then you end up overworking. Yeah, definitely. So when a company tries to adopt new digital solution, this could be a pretty scary moment. There is an investment, as you mentioned, how expensive this piece of software can be. So what advice would you give to firms that are looking to adopt new digital solutions, and what are the risks and challenges that you see during specifically this adoption phase?
So I think the big one is just realizing there's going to be a bit of lost time in that changeover. So you've got to look at that return on investment, and again, what's the final deliverable? What did they want? What brought them to that new solution? And you've got to basically get them to that endpoint pretty quickly. So, like if it was doing a clash detection and they want to have a dashboard for that clash, for those clashes, it's basically get them to that endpoint as quick as they can so that they can start seeing the actual deliverable that they wanted. Now, again, there's going to be some lost time in changing the workflows around that and to getting that workflow efficient. And that's where you've really got to get some buy-in. We sort of call them the champions. So you're always looking in those end users, there will be someone who's either used the software before or they know it and they love it. So it's trying to identify that champion that's going to really back you up as the company and back that software solution as the right solution. And if you can get them on board, they can sort of push it through the company. So, the risks and challenges, like generally it's going to do what you wanted it to do. That's why you bought it, so it will tick that box. But there will be challenges where some of the things that you did before are going to be harder, or they're not going to work as well. So then it's sort of trying to come across, find those issues, find them early, and sort of, as we were saying before, don't run away from them. Like actually recognize that as a problem early and just try and find a solution. Generally, there are solutions out there. Hopefully, you don't need to make your own app or get involved in the API. Hopefully, there is a ready-made solution out there to solve that for you. Again, you're going to fail. Everyone fails. I fail every day, I think, but don't run away from that failure. That's where it's a bit funny and not to go, but that's where the money is. If you can find the failures and address them and fix them, that gets you the respect. That's what people want.
Yeah, definitely. And thinking about all of those people that are in the BIM world and are considering the option of transitioning into a role, your role, like a technical sales role, what are the skills from your BIM background that you think have been most valuable in your role today?
I think it's been a bit I'd say discipline agnostic, which is probably a big word, but it just means like I've been spent 30 years as a structural modeler, but it's just being aware of the mechanical side, being aware of the architectural side, and having that sort of a bit more of a broader understanding about the different clients, different stakeholders, and what they need and how they work. That's probably been the biggest advantage for me. I am known in the company as a bit of the bloke to go to for if they don't know who can answer the question, they'll come to me, and then at least and this is what clients want as well. It's not having all the answers. Like I don't know everything, no one does. but I've got a fair bit of experience, and you can gain this experience as well by sort of going through and having a look at YouTube and looking at those issues that people are finding and trying to find the right solution. And yeah.
Yeah, and what advice would you give to somebody like who is today is a BIM technician and is looking to transition into consulting or technical sales?
I think it's just never stop learning. So it's, one thing is there's so many resources out there now, and in a way it's too many resources, and there are a lot of those like we do training, and a lot of people do training on YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of people know all the answers to the tough questions, but some of those fundamental stuff on how to set it up, that's what people need to know as well, those real basic stuff. I stay ahead of the curve as such, so it's always hard to stay ahead of it, but always look at the what's new. If there's a new, like what's new 2026 in Revit, like have a look at that, see what's new, and start really trying to get that information. Like there's heaps of stuff on LinkedIn as well, YouTube. Everyone knows the Balkan Architect, for instance, so sort of always like look at what's trending on YouTube videos and that. You'll always find some little tips and tricks there and stuff, and that's how you build up your knowledge base. And like I said, don't run away from that issue that even like there's something like curtain walls or something. I'm still not sure really how to do curtain walls in Revit very well. Don't run away from that. Like have a look at a few videos, learn that and put it in your skill set as well. That's
great. Thank you, Ben. We are at the end of our episode. This was great. And I think the audience will find this very valuable. And just before we go, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Well, just for everyone trying to reach out, I won't give my mobile, but it's probably LinkedIn is probably one of the best ways. You can even message me on that, or just look me up there. You can probably find my email if you looked hard enough, but probably LinkedIn is the best way to grab a hold of me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ben. Have a good day.
No worries. Thank you, Alex.